Hey there, guys and girls. This is your girl, Green Fire Motivation, aka Judy Owens. It is Motivation Monday. Now, since I am sitting down, I can't do the actual spin, but I can do this. Whee! Uh-oh, wait a minute. Y'all didn't see that. I almost fell. How you guys doing tonight? Green Fire Motivation has a question for you as always. And the question is, do you see the news, like the television news, as positive or negative? The question again is, do you see the television news as positive or negative? Just think about that for a couple of seconds. Okay, we stop. Okay, so once again, welcome to the Green Fire Motivation channel. My name is Judy Owens. The intention of this channel is to get you to take action and to take control of your life. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can tune in on how to keep your motivational flame green. Also hit the thumbs up button because I know you'll like the video. And then also, if you can put comments at the bottom and just say what parts of the video you liked. Lastly, if you feel this video was helpful to you, feel free to share it to others so that they can come on in and join our Green Fire community. So, once again, the question was, do you consider the television news to be positive or negative? Okay, so now a moment of transparency. Okay, so I actually reached out to the subscriber who wishes to remain nameless. I reached out to the subscriber who actually inspired the three-part video, which is Stay Positive. And I was trying to get an idea of what I was going to say on this third and final video. This is Stay Positive Part 3. Well, I struggled because I started about 4 or 5 times. Once again, it's a moment of transparency. So I started my content for the video this evening and I restarted about 3 times until I was finally to the point where I was like, I can try to write some stuff down or I can just go, off the cuff and just, say how I really feel. So I went with the say how I really feel. So I kind of went with the who, what, when, where, how structure, so to speak. Anyone who knows me knows that I went to PS 219, aka the Kennedy King School in Brooklyn, New York on Clarkson Avenue. And I had a teacher, Miss Carolyn Scott, the most amazing teacher I've ever had in my lifetime, in my 15 to 16 years of school. Miss Carolyn Scott, if you ever see this video, I want you to know that you have made such a huge impression on my life by being my 3rd grade teacher, and I will continually appreciate you. Go figure, I am now a teacher. So let's just say you left a major impression on me. But back to the video. So the news. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my who, me, what. I had an epiphany. When? The other day. Where? When I was driving in my car. Why? Because I was talking to my subscriber and they were shedding some light on what I should talk about or what I could possibly talk about in my video. Okay, so I have to share my personal bias of watching the news. Even my parents know. It's like, as soon as the news comes on, I'm either exiting the room or I'm exiting the building. I have always, I've listened to the news in the past, but over the years, I had picked up a rather negative vibe from the news because I always felt that it was negative. You always heard about someone either dying or, in this situation, the purpose of the topic, authority figures taking advantage of, their power as police officers or what have you. And so in that scenario, I don't really like to watch the news. I don't like to, as soon as it comes on, the first thing you hear about is somebody getting killed. And it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to listen to 40 more minutes of this. Okay, so recently, while I was having this conversation with the subscriber, thank you, by the way, you know who you are. I had an epiphany, and it was like, okay, so all these years I've been saying I don't like to watch the news because it's so negative. But did I actually stop to think about the reasoning behind it being so negative? So the answer to my question for me is, at one point I did see the news as negative. Now, after this epiphany, I actually see it as a positive. Okay, so the reason why I wasn't crazy about the news is because it would always put me in a negative mood. Okay, so basically, like, I would watch it and then I would just feel sad. And I don't know anyone who wants to feel sad at the beginning of their day, you know, or who wants to feel sad right before they go to sleep. Not me, you know. But at the same time, I had an epiphany. So I'm just going to share, you know, 3 things that this epiphany brought me to realize, okay? So one of the most important pieces of the news is the weather, okay? Now, me personally, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because me personally, I don't watch the weather, I don't listen to the weather. My weather is, oh, let me go look outside when I wake up. It's sunny outside. Okay, great. That's my weather. It's not, oh, it's hot outside. Oh, it's cold outside. Oh, it's going to rain. It's what does the weather look like at that very moment in time? That's my weather. Now, I realize that that's not the best weather to have, because if it's sunny in the morning and it's going to rain in the evening, obviously I'll be ill prepared for the rain, right? So, in saying that, obviously, it'd be a great thing or a positive thing as opposed to a negative thing to know if a storm was coming, right? Like if a hurricane or tornadoes and whatnot, you know, it's important to know if these things are coming, because obviously if you don't know they're coming, you can't prepare for them. And, you know, anybody's motto would be better safe than sorry, right? Okay. So obviously, my thoughts about the news being negative, I'm flipping them over to the positive side because there are some positives about watching the news, okay? Now, the second epiphany that I had is that the news is just a small window of what's going on in your surrounding area, and even in your country, and even in the world. It's a very small window. Most broadcasts, outside of the ones that do like 24-hour broadcasts, I actually did some research. And thanks to one of my subscribers, he mentioned I should do some research before the video. But what I was able to dig up as far as research was concerned is that the newscasters, or they actually record between 6 to 7 hours of news on a daily basis, and on the weekends they record somewhere between 2 to 4 hours of news. Okay, so if you think about it, we on average as individuals only watch about 32 minutes of the news per day. Now this is average. This is not like absolute numbers. This is average. Average 32 minutes is all we actually watch of the news, versus the 6 to 7 hours daily on the weekday and 2 to 4 hours on the weekend of news that's actually recorded. So I think that I had a very biased view on how much negativity was actually being poured out from the news. Because if I'm only watching 32 minutes out of a 24-hour time frame, it's really not that much. It's less than an hour's worth of negativity, or so I used to call it. Okay, now here's the deal, right? Okay, so one of the reasons why I went news pro, if you will, and when I say news pro, I don't mean I'm going to be watching the news every single time it comes on, or even every day, but I am going to start to pay better attention. You know, one of the things that my dad always says is, as as we get older, we want to watch the news more because we want to know what's going on around us. And I agree with him, and I definitely think that it is important to watch it. I just think that it's not a good thing to overindulge in it to where it's the only thing that you watch. Because if you've seen any of my previous videos, and I'm sure many others would agree with me, that whatever you pour into your ears is going to go into your heart, which is also going to come out of your mouth. So if the absolute only thing that you're ever watching is the news, and all you're ever hearing is about people dying, people getting robbed and stabbed and raped and all those other things, right? Then obviously you're going to have a negative viewpoint on a lot of things. And so I flip that over to say on the positive side, because we need to stay positive, we have to see the glass half full as opposed to half empty, right? So on the positive side, if you're only watching 34 minutes out of a 24-hour time span, it's really not as much negativity as you thought it was, okay? It's really not as much negativity as you thought it was. And to be honest, even though I'm speaking to you guys that are looking at this video, I'm actually speaking to myself as well, because I need to reinforce this new train of thought, this new way to stay positive about watching the news for myself. Okay, so the point that I wanted to make there is that we're watching such a small portion of the news based on as opposed to how much news is actually being recorded. Okay, now the other bias that I had is the fact that they only report the negative news. And in the conversation that I had with the subscriber, I've within the epiphanies that were forming as we were conversing, I was starting to understand that, okay, the news is responsible for reporting things that we need to be aware of that are around us. Now, granted, it's a good thing that there's an ice cream shop down the road, right? But do you need to hear about that on TV? Hey guys, I got some news for you. Did you see the new ice cream store down the road? Chances are you won't need the news to find the ice cream shop, right? But if there's, say, for example, if there's a criminal that's on the loose in your area, that's something that you need to know. That's something that's important. That's something that everyone in the area needs to know so that they can be on guard, to protect themselves and also protect their families from any, threats or danger that may come from the criminal that's on the loose. And that just makes sense, right? If you believe that, if that makes sense to you, just tap down in the bottom comments. Just type right, okay? So one of the okay, so reverting back to the original request, I'm actually going to backtrack a little bit, because if you haven't had a chance to watch the other two videos, the first one was Stay Positive, Things Have Changed, okay? And that kind of touched on the fact that even though, there was a time where we as African Americans or Negroes, blacks, colored, whichever description that you use, didn't have as many rights as we do now. We need to understand that things are still not perfect and they still need to change. However, that doesn't refute the changes that have already taken place. So that's why it says stay positive, things have changed. The second part of stay positive was one bad police officer does not spoil the whole bunch. And basically what that video was about was explaining that even though one police officer is bad doesn't mean all police officers are bad, and that we need to stop signing up for the bias that makes it seem as though one bad police officer represents the entire police force, because at the end of the day, they are here to protect and serve. And so when we need help, we're not going to call Ghostbusters, we're going to call the police, okay? And so part 3, okay? Part 3, and the title of this video is going to be Stay Positive Part 3, Make an Impact, okay? Now, the original request for this topic said, how to stay positive while the police are killing us. It's hard to see what's going on television. Okay, so that's how I get to my final point of make an impact. Okay, so my thought is these whole situations with authority figures taking advantage of their power when it comes to civilians and so forth, it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no better way to say it. It's just not a good thing. However, if you don't like what you see on TV, if you don't like the news, then this is Green Fire Motivation telling you to go make the news. Okay? This is Green Fire Motivation telling you, if you don't like the news, go make the news. Okay? So go out and make a positive impact that's going to end up on the news. Now, before my epiphany, one of the things that I would always say is that when the news comes on, you have 1 hour. Okay, so if you were to break that down, you've got 5 minutes of maybe commercials, so that's down to 55 minutes. Then you've got about 50 minutes of what I consider to be negative information or negative news. Now, my favorite part of the news currently is the last 2 minutes. Do you know why it's the last 2 minutes? It's because that's when they put the positive story, the positive information, the positive news on the broadcast. So it's like 45 minutes of bad news and 2 minutes of good news. And it's like, why? Why? The old me before the epiphany was like, this is not right. They need to balance it out. They need to make it better. They need to stop reporting all this bad stuff, because all it does is make people want to go out and repeat the bad stuff and make them feel unsafe, uncomfortable, and like harm will come to them at any minute in time. The me after the epiphany is, okay, I get it. You need to make me aware of what's going on. But even though you need to make me aware of what's going on, at the end of the day, I still need to know that there is still good in the world. Okay? So when I say make an impact, this is my challenge to you. Okay? Do something that's going to make a positive impact for positive change. Do something that's going to make a positive impact for positive change. And by being interactive, being active, taking action, taking control, Green Fire Motivation, green means go, we're on the move, okay? The challenge is this. The challenge to you is to reach out to a brother you feel may be struggling, okay? Drop some knowledge on them, wisdom. Pour into them the knowledge that will allow them to move forward towards their purpose and far away from the things that were holding them back or would keep them stagnant in life. Each one teach one. Okay? If it's hard watching the news, then go make the news. The definition of the word news, according to Google, says newly received or noteworthy information about recent or important events. Okay? I'm going to read that one more time. The definition of the word news: newly received or noteworthy information about recent or important events. Okay? So, in staying positive, this is Green Fire Motivation challenging you to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your chair, get out of your couch, get out of your house, get out of your car, and talk to somebody. Drop some knowledge on someone that you feel may be struggling. Now, I specifically said the men because I realized that most of the people who are being taken advantage of when it comes to authority figures is the black males. Now, I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. It's just a fact. This channel itself is to get you to take action and take control of your life. So when I say Black Lives Matter, okay, I'm not saying that I'm marching for Black Lives Matter. It's a valid cause. Hear me. I've heard others say all lives matter, and that's a good cause as well. However, it's not all lives that are being taken at the hands of authority figures. Okay? So, in saying that, that's the reason why I'm pinpointing find a black male and encourage them. If they're struggling, drop some knowledge on them. Share your story with them. Tell them how you got out. Tell them how you made a way. Tell them how you overcame your obstacles, your situations, your pushbacks, when you fell down, how you got up, how you kept going, how you kept climbing, how you kept moving, how you kept yourself motivated. Share that with them, okay? They need to hear it. You know why? Because the same way it's hard for older men, black males, to see the things that are happening to our younger black males on television, it's just as hard for the younger males to look at that as well. And being younger minded, their thoughts aren't necessarily for peace per se. They may be more for retaliation, in which case that would lead to more black males being taken advantage of and lives being taken. But that's not what we want, because at the end of the day, all lives matter. And at the beginning of the day, since the black lives are the ones that's being taken, those are the ones that need to be preserved and acted upon the most. Each one teach one. Go find a brother and encourage him. Go find a brother and help him through his struggle. Go find a brother and see what you can do to pour into him. And I'll tell you what, the benefits of pouring into someone else is growth. And Green Fire Motivation is definitely all about growth. Taking action, taking control of your life. By you stepping out of your box and going to help someone else, you're taking action. You're making the news, which is newly received or noteworthy information about recent or important events. You stepping out and making a difference in someone's life is a recent and important event. So Green Fire Motivation is telling you right now, step outside of your box. Take positive action for positive change so that we can all stay positive together. This is Green Fire Motivation, aka Judy Owens. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Definitely leave your comments down the bottom. I'll be waiting to respond to them. Have a good night, guys. Happy Motivation Monday. Bye.